The time is 1:15. Here is the news edited by Dulmin Samrasingha, read by Victor Raj. Here are the headlines of the local news. The Chinese president offers Sri Lanka's new president his support. The Defence Secretary asks officials to be accountable for assets maintained by public money. Petroleum Corporation says that fuel stocks needed for 1 month are in the country. Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority data shows a steady flow of tourists into the country. The government declares July 25th as a special day for dengue mosquito control. Foreign news: Lithuania resumes transporting goods to Russian exclave. Sports news: Football World Cup plans to use drones to help protect stadiums. Local news in detail. State broadcaster CCTV reported that Chinese President Xi Jinping offered Sri Lanka's new president his support. In his message yesterday, Mr. Xi said he believes Sri Lanka will be able to move towards economic and social recovery, and he is ready to provide support and assistance to the best of his ability to President Wickremesinghe and the people of Sri Lanka in their efforts. Defence Secretary General Kamal Gunaratne says, being a developing country where the government constantly allocates considerable proportion of its revenue for the country's defence, even amidst the current economic and political crisis, it is their responsibility to be accountable for the assets which are maintained by public money. He said the more they reach higher in the ladder, the more they are expected to act responsibly. General Gunaratne expressed these remarks yesterday while gracing commissioning ceremony of the Navy's midshipmen as the chief guest, held at the prestigious Naval and Maritime Academy in Trincomalee. The batch of commissioned officers is comprised of 11 midshipmen of the 35th Technical Intake and 25th midship of the 26th intake of General Sir John Kotharawa Defence University. Petroleum Corporation says that fuel stocks needed for 1 month are in the country. The corporation also said the country has petrol stocks for another 22 days. 4,000 metric tons of diesel and 3,000 metric tons of petrol have been distributed to filling stations island-wide yesterday. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing with more local news, Sri Lanka welcomed 28,733 tourists for the first 19 days of July, bringing the total number of international visitors entering the country for the year starting January 1st to 440,110. Data from the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority showed a reduced but steady flow of tourists into the country, which indicates that despite the ongoing political and economic turmoil in the country, interest in destination Sri Lanka still remains. The breakdown of the key contributors to the Sri Lanka country's tourism traffic for July shows that the UK ranks as the largest source maker for Sri Lanka tourism. For the first 19 days of July, the UK accounted for 4,714 of the total arrivals. Ranking as the second largest contributor to tourist traffic is India, which brought in 3,375 tourists. Germany emerged as the third largest source market, accounting for 2,332 international visitors. Other notable remarks for the month of July include Canada, France, Switzerland and Australia. The government has declared July 25th as a special day for dengue mosquito control. On that day, the staff of the government and private institutions should identify mosquito breeding places inside and outside the institution where they work for 1 hour, destroy them and plan to keep the environment clean in the future. Director General of Health Services Dr. Sela Gunawardana said that this day was announced to prevent the spread of dengue disease in a high epidemic situation. It said that more than 8,000 dengue infected people have been reported in the 20 days since the beginning of this month, and more than 43,000 infected people have been reported since the beginning of this year. The Elections Commission has issued an extraordinary Gazette notification announcing Vajira Abeyewardene as a National List MP of the United National Party. The UMP nominated him and sent his name to the Elections Commission to replace the seat fell vacant from Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe was elected the president. Sri Lanka Railways has announced that revised train ticket fares will come into effect from today. The Railway Department previously announced that the increased train ticket fares would be applied from midnight yesterday. According to the Gazette notification issued in this regard, the minimum train ticket fare is increased from 10 rupees to 20 rupees. That ends local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Minister Kanchana Vijayasekara said that fuel will be issued according to the final digit of vehicle registration number from Monday. Customers have to produce the received QR code to get fuel from Monday. They are advised to register their vehicles with the www.fuelpass.gov.lk website to obtain their fuel quota from Monday onwards until end of the fuel scarcity. A pilot project which started last Wednesday was successfully conducted until yesterday at several selected filling stations in the Colombo district. That ends main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight. Appeal Board discusses decisions for enrolling students to national schools based on the result of the Grade 5 Scholarship Examination 2021 held in May 2022 are out now. Students who sat for the Grade 5 Scholarship Examination can check their results of the preliminary round of appeal related by visiting the website g6application.moe.gov.lk and submitting the examination number. That ends Watchlight. Moving on to world news, let's take a look at the headlines. Lithuania resumes transporting goods to Russian exclave. Hundreds of children in Haiti are taking refuge at a high school in the capital city. Google fires the engineer who said the company's artificial intelligence system has feelings. World news in detail. Lithuania has lifted a ban on the rail transport of sanctioned goods in and out of Russia area. Kaliningrad is one on the Baltic Sea and uses a rail link to Russia via Lithuania for passengers and freight. Russia was enraged when Lithuania banned the transit of steel and other ferrous metals under EU sanctions last month and threatened to respond. But now Lithuanian Railways says it will resume transporting goods to the exclave. Hundreds of children in Haiti are taking refuge at the high school in the capital Port-au-Prince after escaping gang violence that has claimed hundreds of lives this month. Toddlers to teenagers are sleeping in a classroom at the prestigious institution Saint Louis de Gonzaga. A severe wave of violence erupted between two rival gangs in the Sete Salela area on 7th July. Human Rights Watch says around 300 people have reportedly been killed. Google has fired one of its engineers who said the company's artificial intelligence system has failings. Last month, Blake Lemoine went public with his theory that Google's language technology is sentient and should therefore have its wants respected. Google Plus several AI experts denied the claims, and on Friday, the company confirmed that he had been sacked. Mr. Lemoine told media that he is getting legal advice and declined to comment. To wrap up the world news, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Lithuania resumes transporting goods to Russian exclave. Hundreds of children in Haiti are taking refuge at a high school in the capital city. Google fires the engineer who said the company's artificial intelligence system has failings. That ends world news. Moving on to development news. The agriculture minister has decided to provide 15,000 metric tons of urea fertilizer for tea cultivation. According to Minister Mahinda Amaravira, government decided to provide 15,000 out of 65,000 metric tons of urea fertilizer provided by the Indian government at the request of the Ministry of Plantation Industry. Minister Amaravira gave instructions to the officials concerned to produce a special mixed fertilizer for vegetable cultivation and arrange to supply that fertilizer to make marketing within the next 2 weeks. That ends development news.
Sports news is brought to you by
Sampath Bank. We present your future.
Football news. Man-to-man marking will be paired with drone versus drone security at this winter's FIFA World Cup in Qatar. Unmanned area vehicles that shoot nets to bring down small rogue drones will help defend venues. Fortem Technologies will provide the interceptor drones following an agreement with Qatar's Interior Ministry. It says the agreement reflects growing fears about the threat potential drone attacks pose in general. More sports news. World Athletic Championships. American Sydney McLaughlin produced another astonishing performance as she broke her own world record by almost 3/4 of the second to take 400-meter hurdles gold in Eugene. The 22-year-old left her rivals for dust as she came home in 50.68 seconds, smashing her own record of 51.41 seconds set in June. World Athletics President Lord Coe has said championships could be moved to protect athletes from the extreme heat. He voiced concerns over safety and warned he envisaged the government body changing event locations as a result of global warming. Temperatures hit 32 Celsius at the World Athletics Championships in Oregon this week, and wildfire have struck Europe. That ends sports news.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Business news sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Ceylon Chamber of Commerce has submitted suggestions and recommendations on the proposed electricity traffic to Public Utility Commission. The Chamber said observations address vital issues such as the accuracy of costs, power cuts, rationality of costs, financial independence of the electricity board entities, renewable energy, cost of energy, fixed and variable costs, cross-subsidies, price electricity and tariff principles required. That ends business news.
Business news sponsored by
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Economic news, courtesy of
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
Sri Lanka's annual inflation jumped to an all-time high of 54.6% in June of 2022 from 29.8% the previous month. It was the highest inflation rate ever recorded and the 7th consecutive double-digit growth in consumer prices. Prices continued to climb further for food and non-food products and transport. That ends economic news.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
Finally, on to the weather report. The Met Department says showers or thundershowers will occur at times in Sabaragama province and in Nuwara Kandy, Galle and Mathura districts. Several spells of showers will occur in western and northwestern provinces. Showers or thundershowers will occur at several places elsewhere during the evening or night. Fairly heavy showers above 75 mm can be expected at some places in North Central Province and Trincomalee and Mullaitivu district. That ends the weather report. To wrap up the afternoon news on Radio Sri Lanka, let's take a look at the headlines. The Chinese president offers Sri Lanka's new president his support. The Defense Secretary asks officials to be accountable for assets maintained by public money. Petroleum Corporation says that fuel stocks needed for 1 month are in the country. Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority data shows a steady flow of tourists into the country. The government declares July 25th as a special day for dengue mosquito control. Foreign news, Lithuania resumes transporting goods to Russia exclave. Sports news, Football World Cup plans to use drones to help protect stadiums. With that, we wrap up the afternoon news on Radio Sri Lanka.